You can see that the buddleias are still in flower, and it's quite late in the season. We're nearly into autumn. And look at this fuchsia. It looks like Mrs. Popple's. I don't know whether it is, I have to be honest, but it's a lovely fuchsia. And fuchsias seem to be a bit late this year, and I wonder whether that was because of the wet period of time. It could have been. Now, what are we going to do in the garden at the moment? Well, something that's very important, of course, is bulbs. Now, bulbs, you'll see loads and loads of bulbs, and it's a good time if you could get in the ground, because August is the time that you're supposed to plant narcissi and daffodils. I have to be honest, I couldn't get a spade in the ground in a rough area at all if I wanted to naturalise them, so I'm going to wait. But I will have ordered them and got the sacks all ready, keeping them somewhere nice and cool and dry, and wait for a bit of rain to get into our ground. If you're farther north or in Scotland, of course you won't have the same problem because you've had a fair bit of rain. But down in East Anglia where I am, there's not a lot of rain going on at all. The other thing that's lovely to buy at this time of the year are actually a saffron crocus, the autumn flowering crocus. They're really very attractive, and yes, they did come from Saffron Walden, and yes, that's where they get the from the stigma you get saffron from. But that's not what you're thinking of doing in your garden. It's just, they're a lovely additive at this time of the year. Small crocus, purpley looking flower, very attractive indeed. The other one, of course, is Colchicum. Colchicum are like a water lily more flower, or naked ladies, which is a tall, slender flower, larger than the autumn crocus, and often are confused, but Colchicum are not autumn crocus, nothing to do with the same family. They're worth doing as well at this time of year. Brings real colour to your garden as we go into autumn and the leaves start to fall. In your veg plot, I would still try sowing a bit of salads. The ground is so warm, you could get a bit of salad to grow, and see that you keep cropping. My runner beans, if you put in that late one, Lady Di, lovely white one, that will produce beans until you get to the frost, so you can keep picking those as you should do. Tomatoes, see that you open up the tomatoes and take some of the leaf off so that you get the sunlight, when we get sun, to the actual fruit, which will ripen it up no end. Onions you can lift and dry, very important indeed, and most important of all is just start to enjoy the top fruit. Some of those apples, I know russets aren't quite ready there. I've tasted some of those, and in fact they're not quite ready. Usually end of September, beginning of October, same as bramleys and some of the late cooking apples. There were plenty of plums about, and I've just found a lovely tree of damsons that are absolutely gorgeous. So it's a good year for plums, apples, and generally for fruit. What else do we get on with? Well, I tell you what, we get on with our lawns, and we keep cutting those. Worth getting them an autumn feed at this time of the year, especially if the ground is not too dry. If it is dry, leave it alone for now, or use a liquid feed only. So there's a few tips for you to be getting on with here on World Radio Gardening, but there's plenty to do. Get out there with the hoe, do a little bit of weeding, and more important than anything, gardening is supposed to be enjoyable. So if you get a sunny day, just get out there, sit out there in the peace of the garden, glass of wine or a mug of tea, whatever you want, but enjoy your garden.